G'day and welcome to another episode of Kiwi Car Life, and I'm rounding off my trip in Auckland with quite an interesting car. This is a Mitsubishi Colt Ralliart version R. This is no ordinary crummy hatchback that you see your grandma driving around in. This was the top performance Mitsubishi Colt from the era. It's got a 1.5 turbo under the bonnet, a 5-speed manual and all sorts of racing flares on the outside, so it's going to be interesting to see how this car goes. In terms of exterior styling, they've really pumped this one up with all of the black plastic cladding around the outside, and I love the way the wheels look with the simple straight spokes. It just suits this car really well. And round back it has a bigger exhaust tip and a little spoiler. So overall, especially given the owner of this has taken really good care of it, it's a pretty cool looking little hatchback. The engine is a 4B15T. It's a 1.5 litre inline 4 with a little itty bitty turbocharger up there, and it puts out 122 kilowatt or 163 horsepower and 214 newton meters, which is some pretty hefty numbers for a little 1.5 turbo like this, especially given how old the car is now. And it's paired up with a 5-speed manual, and power is going to the front wheels. The interior I would describe as simple. There's not really a whole lot going on in here, and certainly not too much to tell you that this is a performance car besides the little Ralliart plaque down here. This era of Mitsubishi, the interior build quality is not the best. I don't mean to dog on the car, but it's probably kind of the one area that sort of lets it down a little bit, where all of the dash is just scratchy plastics and there's not really any art to the design. It's just a plain dashboard, plain seats and plain steering wheel. But I will admit the bits that are important do feel good. The steering wheel is finished in a nice leather, which is definitely a big upgrade, and other stuff like the indicators do feel quite nice. It does have things like auto lights, which is a handy feature to have, and obviously the owner of this one has put in an aftermarket radio which allows you to have Bluetooth, which is also great. It does everything that you need. It's got a reasonable amount of space in the back and in the boot, as well as it is a hatchback. Transmission feel is interesting. It's very long throws, and definitely, at least compared to what I'm used to in the case of like a Honda gearbox, it's nowhere near as sort of snickety. You know, you put it in gear and it can still move around quite a lot, but at least it's got a manual transmission, I'll give it that. And sometimes when I sit here and fiddle around with stuff, they feel a bit average, but when I get out and drive it, they start to feel a lot better, so let's go and do just that. Driving the Mitsubishi Colt Ralliart. I've been pleasantly surprised by this thing. First of all, it's really easy to drive, and it goes. For a 1.5 turbo, that hauls. It was even spinning the wheels in first gear. This is, without question, a lot faster than I expected, man. I've been pretty impressed by this. The steering feel and steering response is brilliant. Very EVO-like. I drove an EVO 10 recently, and this has given me a lot of memories of that, where it sits nicely on the middle, tracks the road beautifully, but as soon as you move the wheel, it just responds one way or another. You know, you want to change lanes, just bam! It just shoots one way or the other. Transmission feel, unfortunately, is the one bit that kind of lets it down. It has a lot of play in gear. Between gears it feels okay, but it's just in gear, it just wobbles around. But once you get on the power, the turbo kicks in, makes power right to red line, and it's a quick car, man. And the other thing I like is that it's very responsive. It's super easy to go down gears. You can heel toe and rev match, and the torque is excellent. You know, it has well over 200 newton meters of torque, which is about the same as my Accord had when it was stock. So, you know, just up a big hill like this in second gear, you put your foot down, and it really gets up and goes. And to coincide with the really nice steering feel, the handling is good. For what is quite a high hatch, like there's a lot of headroom above me here, it actually really responds through corners excellently. Seats are nice and comfortable. There we go. Yeah, it takes at least to 2,500 RPM before it hits full boost. So overall, the Mitsubishi Colt Ralliart, the negatives, the interior is pretty bland and pretty plasticky, and it's probably the biggest downside of the car. And the transmission feel is quite sloppy. I don't know if it just needs new bushings or what, but you know, just in gear, it literally bounces around. Like there is absolutely nothing holding it right in the middle of that gear. But the positives, the way the engine accelerates and responds. You can light up the wheels in first gear. Like, it takes some torque to be able to do that, man. The handling is excellent. It rides well. The body control is good. It's a great fun little car. And if you're looking for like a first hot hatch and you want something that's kind of different to the mainstream GTI or Swift Sport, then this will be a really good alternative because it's just different, you know? So there we go. Thanks for watching this episode of Kiwi Car Life. And if you want to see me reviewing an EVO 10, then click over here. And if you want to see me reviewing a Toyota Chaser, then click over here. And I'll look forward to seeing you again next time.